Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for the Q&A, so let me get my hat on and get this started. Alright, first question. Hello Mr. Blaha, I have a problem with my right shoulder. It hurts when I raise it to parallel, and it hurts when I lower it down. I think it's a rotator cuff injury. I think I injured myself from doing a lot of pull-ups, 150 to 200. Now my question is, would strengthening the rotator cuffs help prevent future injuries, or should I just stop doing so many reps and transfer to doing mostly weighted pull-ups? I can pull 55 kilograms and I weigh 65 kilograms. Alright brother, it absolutely sounds to me like you have a possible rotator cuff injury here. When you say pull-ups, that's where I get concerned, because a lot of people have different ideas about how you should perform a pull-up. I always tell people that you don't need to be doing wide grip pull-ups. I'm not a big fan of anything done wide grip, whether it's a bench press, whether it's a row, whether it's a lat pull down, a pull up. I generally advocate people do chin ups or hammer grip pull ups, with no wider than shoulder grip. If you guys remember, even when I had Brittany doing lat pull downs, because she has some shoulder issues that we've had to rehabilitate, you guys remember I had her do the narrow parallel grip bars? All right, even for lat pull downs. Now you're sitting here doing a really wide grip potentially. When you say pull up, I think that's what you might mean. Now if that's not the case, then it could just be sheer amount of workload. But if you're doing a wide grip and you've been doing tons and tons of reps, yeah, that can compromise your shoulder joint. That can compromise your rotator cuff. So you very well could have a rotator cuff injury going on here. And if that's the case, this might be an injury that might not be fully recoverable. That's the thing that guys got to think about. It's fine to train safe. It's fine to train and push yourself. And in fact, it's great for your health. We know it's great for your health. But when you do silly things and you overwork things, people coming in and thinking it's a good idea to do 200 pull-ups in a week, particularly using a bad technique, you have to understand that at a certain point you're going to outwork your body. All right, the human body is not invincible, and I know there are people online who will try to convince you that it is, but these people are going to fucking hurt you. Your body isn't invincible, and if that's the case, you may have a permanent rotator cuff issue. Now, once you try to get it rehabilitated, obviously you're going to want to work on strengthening rotator cuffs. You're going to want to do less volume on pull-ups, and you need to stop doing wide grip, hopefully. And I'm thinking that's what caused it. Otherwise, it's just straight overuse, because then again, doing 200 pull-ups in a week, that's a lot. That is a lot. So that could be your issue in general, but you're going to need to go see a physical therapist, because if you're having pain like that in your shoulder, it probably is a rotator cuff. It is something internal in the joint or a rotator cuff. You need to see a physical therapist because you've got something that's going to need to be sorted out. Otherwise, you're going to be permanently injured. All right, and you need to back off of it completely for now. Get in and see a physical therapist or an expert, someone who can help you rehabilitate that, because you've done something pretty serious. And when you do extreme things in training, you have to accept sometimes that you're going to get injuries as a result of it. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. All right, next question. Hi Jason, I'd appreciate hearing your thoughts and advice for someone trying to overcome an exercise addiction. Spending hours upon hours exercising every day and feeling that any workout done in a more convenient time frame, such as an hour session, is inadequate. What complicates that matter even further is that the strength continues to increase. So that serves as a deterrent from making any lifestyle change. They have been exercising at such a ridiculous volume for so long that their body has adapted to it, so it's not that they are physically drained. However, they realize the abnormality of their mindset and behavior. I'd sure appreciate any advice you could offer. Thanks. Yeah, that's the thing with the people like this who have an exercise addiction. If they aren't regressing, they're probably not training that hard. And that's the interesting thing, because, again, they're like, well, they've been using so much volumes for so long that they're adapting. Yeah, because they've basically turned it into conditioning work. It's cardio work at a certain point, because no one's coming in training well over an hour. When they say an hour feels inadequate, they're training for hours every day. Yeah, they've turned it into conditioning work with a little fluff light work. And that would be okay if they had an actual reason to do that. If they're doing that just to try to gain muscle or gain strength, obviously this is problematic. And the person recognizes this as an actual addiction. And when you recognize it as an addiction, that's a good step, because the person realizes, hey, this isn't normal. I shouldn't need to do this just to make gains, but I'm addicted to doing it. And they're realizing at that point, too, this mindset's going to start interfering with the rest of their life. What they're going to have to do is just reassess what they're doing. The only way to change this without going to a therapist is going to be to go on a more minimalist program. Get this person to come in and change and convince themselves. They're going to need to tell themselves over and over and over, it's about quality of work, not quantity. Quality of work, not quantity. And I would say normally what this person could do is, of course, come in and do a minimalist 3-day-a-week program. They could come in and just focus on the basics for 30 to 45 minutes, 3 days a week, run just a very basic program, such as some of the ones that I outlined the other day. I outlined one a couple days ago you could check out when discussing why it isn't difficult to program for gaining muscle mass. They could switch over to something like that, have them do it and just start doing it. But the signs that you need to watch for someone who has an exercise addiction is that body image disorders tend to follow shortly. So this person might start feeling like they are shrinking and losing muscle mass. And what they have to do is convince themselves that tons of people have gained a lot of muscle and strength using the sort of the training that I recommend there. They have to keep reminding themselves of that. If you're helping them, you need to remind them of that over and over and over. Keep reminding them of this case, because eventually what you're worried about is when they start seeing themselves lose muscle mass in the mirror. Now, we all know that if someone's coming in squatting, deadlifting, overhead pressing heavy, doing some chin-ups and things like that, there's no way they're losing significant muscle mass. In fact, they're probably gaining it no matter how they trained before. But your big concern there is going to be that they're going to start seeing in their head the muscle going away. And if that's the case, then they've also developed a body image disorder, or body dysmorphia. And if that's the case, and this self-programming doesn't work and you helping them with it, of just getting them to change it and keep telling themselves with affirmations that it will work, that it's fine, that it's more efficient and going to give them just as good, if not better, gains. If that doesn't work and they start seeing muscle loss in the mirror, they're probably going to need professional help at that point, because it is developed beyond the level that most people are going to be able to help themselves, and that's the biggest concern. And yeah, that's the problem, is that exercise addiction starts to lead to other problems. That's our big concern, is that it will start eventually leading to overuse injuries. It will start leading to lesser results. It will start interfering with people's social lives. It will start causing them anxiety eventually. And that's, again, always a concern. And again, I want to remind people, I'm not saying that there aren't worse things to be addicted to than exercise, but any addiction can become a negative, including exercise addiction. All right, next question. Lifting has been a huge part of my life for over 10 years now. I started powerlifting 2 years ago, and yesterday I've torn a tricep pretty bad while benching. I've been using the same weight for 2 months, benching every 2 to 3 days, wanting to maintain my strength, and just grabbed the bar at around 85% of my max, 295 pounds. My left tricep tore. My volume was quite low, my frequency decent, my weight was nothing I wasn't used to. What did I do wrong? I haven't seen it coming, and I was fully rested. I'm pretty much done with powerlifting. I'm 23, and I've crippled myself. What is your advice for returning to lifting once fully healed? Thanks. All right, brother. It is very, very, very rare that you didn't see any warning signs. I'm just going to call that flat out, and I'm not calling you a liar in any way, but usually muscle tears, particularly with a weight that you're very, very comfortable using, could in fact be an issue of an overuse injury leading into it, meaning you started getting some elbow pain, started getting some tricep cramping. Again, it's hard to say without knowing what you were doing. Now, what I'm going to say is that if you've been using things like elbow sleeves, that could be the problem right there. A lot of times when people use these sleeves and everything and things to compress joints, they don't feel the pain and training that they should be feeling, and that's what's going to subject people to a lot more injuries. It could be the fact of ignoring nagging pains and keep pushing hard and heavy, ignoring nagging pains. And like you said, you were working with 85% of your max. You've been doing that for 2 months. It's hard to say whether overreaching was a factor or not, but definitely overuse injuries occur like that. And yeah, overuse injuries do occur sometimes with less than our max, but when you're pushing, again, too many singles, too many doubles at too high of a frequency, and you're not listening to your connective tissue, it can be a problem. If you were doing anything to blunt pain from your training, like even if you were taking weed, smoking weed after you train to help with pain, right? That's a big one a lot of people do. Maybe you've been taking NSAIDs to blunt the pain. Maybe you used some sort of sleeve around your elbow and ignored a nagging pain before it snapped. And again, I don't know what you've been doing with your life. So when someone says there were no warning signs, that's extremely rare. And it does happen, but we're talking about less than 1% of people are going to get a major injury like that with no warning signs. Particularly if your technique was good, you've been training full range of motion and everything's right. It doesn't just happen in a vacuum. You missed something somewhere, brother. As far as when you come back to training, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not going to tell you need to quit powerlifting because of one injury. I'm going to tell you you're going to need to reassess what you're doing with your training. You're going to need to pay closer attention to prehab stuff. You're going to need to pay closer attention to learning to listen to your body more, to watch for warning signs and know when you need to deload, when you need to back off. Because even using the same fairly heavy weight for months and months without increasing it can still eventually lead to overreaching. It can lead to overuse injuries. There's a lot of factors going on there, brother. And without knowing what you were doing with your training, I can't say, but you're going to have to assess for yourself what you want to do moving forward. You know what? It's not my job to tell you what sort of training style you need to go to or what your training goals need to be. Those are going to change throughout your life. You're a young man at 23. Your training goals are probably going to change 3, 4, 5, 10 times over the rest of your lifetime. Just keep that in mind, and you have to decide what you want to do. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.